Hello, I'm Sky Captain Robin. It's been a month since my last update. I'm really sorry. It's taking way longer than I expected. I really wanted to make, at least a video a week to keep you all informed about what's going on. Unfortunately, things have been extremely intense, and because it's pretty hard for me to, finish the day and record a video at this point, I've been unable to be very reliable on that front. Still hoping to improve, but until we are growing a bit more the team and have a bit less on my plate, you'll have to please bear with me. Anyway, so I'd like to make a bit of a recap today about where are we, where are we going, and some of the stuff that are going on. So this project started in July this year. So in July, my focus was in the ideation phase. I was trying to think about a cool concept that would make sense, that would be interesting for people to enjoy and play. And this is how the idea of Protagonist came to me, to make them kind of a screen-free entertainment platform. And that project has been evolved through the months, but it's still pretty much at the core interactive screen-free entertainment. And in July, it was really about, okay, what is it? And then in August, I went to Gamescom and talked to a lot of my friends and professionals in the gaming industry, trying to understand, okay, does that make sense? What's happening? What is the competition? Who exists? Does it make sense for me to dive deeper in that market segment? Trying to find out if players will be interested and why people are not, doing it more. And learned a lot of things and kind of confirmed that it was making a lot of sense to try to go in this direction. And I was collecting a lot of information. And then in September, I thought, okay, now I need to find, a really cool design. And I started to work on the design of how this could work. This is a bit more, how do you interact with the platform? How do you create content? Pretty much designing in the conception phase. A lot of fun. And also I started to do a bit of outreach to try to find partners to actually develop the platform. In that process, I learned a lot about the requirements from an experience point of view. And then in October, we moved to what is called pre-production phase, where I started to learn more about, all right, what type of technology do we need? What type of people? What type of pipelines and processes? How to create content? What kind of tools? All the pretty much nitty-gritty details of making sure we're able to make this work effectively. And in the meantime, I was, interviewing a lot of people, a lot of teams, trying to understand who would be the right people to build it. And let me tell you, I learned a lot about different languages and technologies to build this platform, and tools and technologies and things. Because right now we're actually building a lot of stuff, right? We're building basically the whole pipeline from how do we create content, how do we onboard content, how do we build a game engine, to interact with this content, how do we create the front end, how we interact, allowing people to interact with the content, distribution, live ops, and then of course, other ways for people to interact with the content. We're innovating in many different fronts. So it's a whole, big technology project. It's not only about making cool games, there's a lot of tech involved, and pretty much October and November were really into diving into that piece. So October was really about, okay, let's, talk to the people that knows how to do stuff. Let me tell you, I was very, very shocked on how different basically the information I could get from different people. I got to a point, diving so deep, and thanks to the help of talking to AI and, going really deep into some topics and informing myself and talking to really good experts, I finally found the best way to build a platform and the technologies and type of engineers I need and all of this. But it moved from, if you imagine it is a puzzle of all these steps that need to come together to make it work, I would just present, to a company, how much would it take to make that small piece of the puzzle? And they would ask me, that will cost about 30,000 euros to do just that small piece. That's a lot of money, right? This is roughly, to give you an idea, it's a bit more than 2 months, right? 2 people working full time just to solve that small problem. Well, let me tell you, we found an easier way to do it, a cheaper way to do it. And the guy that found the solution was, I was so much impressed that I actually hired him, and he's now working full time on the project. So, yeah, that's, like when you find someone that really gets it, that is also passionate about the project, you want them to join the team. And that's what I did. So I onboarded Sebastian. He's on our Discord now, and he's working full time on the project. He's very excited. He actually worked on some interactive audio projects before as well on his side. But now we're really pushing, the boundaries together on many things. So super excited to have him on board. It really, it energizes me to have not being just alone anymore. And then I decided to also hire someone else to handle a lot more the front end, a part of the really code and architecture of making the game engine, the front end, and a lot of other layers of those things that needs to be done. And so that's Patrick, and he's also on our Discord, and he's doing a great job. So I've been very lucky in the recruitment, and I have a lot of things to say about this, but we had some interesting choices. I'm going to do like a derail a bit to explain, because it was pretty fun. I mean, I cannot really afford to make mistakes, so there's a lot of stress, in like deciding, okay, am I going to hire this person or this person? It's a lot of money. That's my personal savings. And, I'm not rich. So let's say that I was looking into, okay, who would be the right person to build this? And then we had we worked with a company to help us find, the right people. There was 4 different engineers, all amazing people, very senior. And so it was really hard to decide, and Sebastian was helping me in the interview process. So we talked together about, hey, what do you think about this guy and this guy? And it was really, really good because, we both saw very different things in every individual. And we had to pick between 2 people. One was very, presented very well. It was quite senior, and learned a lot about technologies, about audio, and shipped many apps, many, very good CV, very professional, very articulate, and it was very tempting. And then there was Patrick on the other side, which was, let's say, an expert in technology, could feel his passion for the tech. But it looked a bit more like, a real developer in terms of really knowing how the code works and doing all this. And we didn't know him at the time, so it was really hard to know, okay, so maybe Patrick basically, knows a lot, he's very passionate about technology, but the other guy looks, at a CV that, was very, very solid, Patrick, you hear me? We were just wondering because the other person that worked also on audiobooks, on audio apps as well. There's a lot of, different type of content. So we were wondering, but eventually, what really made us pick Patrick is that when he came to each of the interviews, he was really well prepared. He had very specific questions. And when we asked questions, we could feel that he was, really trying to understand how to make this work. So we had a first call with him, and then the second call, we had follow-up questions. He had even investigated how to do some of the very complicated stuff we wanted to do. So yeah, it was an obvious choice. We went for Patrick, and he joined, and oh boy, that was amazing. He worked on the first 3 days. He shipped the first version and the engine, and now, we're on fire, right? So there's a lot of builds coming out pretty much almost every 2 days. We have a new build. The demo is starting to take shape. We can simulate things, and yeah, it is working on my mobile now. It's very happy to see it here. Protagonist is here. We are working and doing tweaks all the time. I'm going to change also the UI now because we found a better way to do things, and maybe I'll explain more about the changes we're doing to the UI and how things will work. But generally speaking, we've been trying to iterate, and I actually learned that Patrick also made some studies in Sweden and learned about, interaction designs, doing all this. So that's why he's also very passionate about UX, which like me. And that is super cool because some engineers are just like, hey, I can solve your problem, but they don't really care about the end user. But Patrick, in that sense, has really this kind of natural sense of nerding out with me really much about how to make things work and sound right and click right. And so, we're really trying to polish and make things, be great. Now it's going so fast on that front. So the technical side now, I have 2 people working on it. So I can finally take a bit more step back from the technical side because that's not my area of expertise. But to be honest, to give you a sense of how deep I had to go, I learned so much about, Flutter and React and Swift and Kotlin and all the different languages that work on mobile. And it was so intense that at one point, even I was talking to a new, development company, to their CTO, and I knew more about the technology than him. I mean, I didn't know how to code, doing all this, but more about the capabilities and the limitations, and asking a bit of pointy questions. It was pretty clear that they had never worked, some of these things. And I'm not saying a better engineer than him. That's not what I'm saying, obviously. But it was just quite interesting to see now that what we're trying to do is very, very special, very hard to do, and it's very hard to find the people that are able to solve it, because we are really at the kind of Venn diagram between gaming and audio and interactivity and platforms and code, right? And if I want to make basically like an interesting observation of everything we did, is every time a decision needs to be made between what would be the obvious choice to make, we went on the exact opposite. And that's really helped us. And that's why also we're going so fast, because kind of all the obvious choices are the wrong choices for what we're trying to build. It's quite interesting. And in a weird way also, we've hit a lot of, roadblocks about stuff we wanted to do that were not possible from a technical standpoint, or like, the platform limitations and this is where it was super interesting, because the harder things got and the more blockers forced us to find solutions. And those solutions require us to kind of simplify a lot of things. And the product, the experience, everything is so much better thanks to that. If I look at the initial platform designs that I had basically back in July and to what we have now, night and day, and so much simpler. Think about having a remote with 50 buttons before, and now it's like there's 2. So just simplification to the max. But I heard someone said that's really interesting recently, was when things looks very simple from the outside, it means there's very complicated on the back end. That's exactly right. The reason why we had to go so deep and to solve so many problems is because to have something that is pretty, pure, pretty native design, you have to go really deep in understanding, all the mechanics, simplifying, and building all of this very, very well, and be very curious about all these how those different things interconnect together. And that's part of the exploration I've been doing. I'm honestly get a lot of examples I could give, but it'll come back to mine a bit later. But generally speaking, so November was really about building the team now, and we're on the fire because I was thinking we'd have a playable demo in January. So actually, initially, I thought we were starting development in September and would have a demo in January. So I was pretty, we had some buffer time. So we actually started development end of November, but we're going to have a demo end of December. This is how effective we are at this moment, right? We're going so fast and we're so efficient. I'm super impressed. And we're also doing it much cheaper than initially planned, and the kind of quotes I got from different companies and people I talked to. So we are cheaper, faster, and to be honest, the delays we took, basically, we were kind of delayed 2 months based on my initial, plan. Those 2 months really helped to kind of nail and prevent us from doing major decisions that would have been putting us in trouble. Because sometimes, you have to build things right at the beginning. It's more expensive, takes more time in doing all this. And then you're better set for the future. The way this works is, imagine if I had to give you a decision, are you building, make it cheap and dirty to have this proof of concept and kind of playable thing as soon as possible, but then every new update you do afterward is going to take you more time, more resources, more people to do those improvements, because you have to constantly fight and retweak things because it's not the right tool for this, right? So you're basically building a house of cards if you do this. And this is what most companies do, because the prototyping it's just people want to do a fast prototype to test things, but usually they don't throw everything away completely. They're just using a lot of stuff because it's just about time and there's a lot of pressure to just move fast. But this time we went hey, let's build it right from the get-go. Took more time to harden the tech, making sure we have the right thing, the right people doing all this. And the payoff is pretty amazing now, because we're actually moving super fast. And the good thing is we won't have to rebuild everything. We're really building the real thing from the start, and I'm pretty excited about that. Because that means, yeah, it will be playable by other people sooner than expected. And it will be pretty solid and we can scale it. And it also opens a lot more options that we didn't have before. To give you an example, I used to work at, and it's a long time ago, I guess don't be that mad, but I used to work at Ubisoft on a game, and this game was just, kind of a prototype initially, and it was kind of released to the public. It was a small game, I think it doesn't exist anymore. But there was just a test because initially the company, didn't know it was going to really work. It was an experiment, but it actually was extremely successful. The problem for the studio that built this game is they had this game out there and, well, they had poor foundations, right? It was built in a hacky way because they wanted to do fast just to kind of test things. And then when they released, massive success, and then they couldn't really rebuild it for different reasons. It would have taken too much time, too much effort, and it was a complicated situation for many reasons. But overall, they had to deal with this kind of very poor technical foundation that really, really hurt basically the ability for the game to scale. Or I could even give an example, like I'll play a lot Escape from Tarkov. I admit I have more than 5,000 hours on it. Well, now I'm playing a lot less. But in Escape from Tarkov, basically they decided to build a very, very complex and layered game in Unity. And that is a bold choice for this type of game. And they've been pushing this engine to the very limit. And of course, this is why there's a lot of bugs and things break from time to time. It's because it is not meant to manage such a big and ambitious project. And of course, it cannot Twitch now, so it's too late. But that's to give an idea, right? So think about this in a way that, all these experiences in gaming doing this kind of taught me a few lessons. Talking about lessons, it is super interesting because also when we recruit, finding the right people is extremely challenging because we are all kind of have biases from the industry where we come from. If you learn a lot from the gaming industry, you have a very sort of view of the world. And usually, you have a different view on PC and console and mobile, doing all this, and even from a technology standpoint. So every time I was trying to recruit basically a CTO or an engineer from the gaming industry, they had this kind of like muscle memory of like, oh, let's use Unity or let's use Unreal to build this kind of interactive engine or some other engines. And well, that's not always a good idea. But of course, it's easier to use if you've been using it for a long time and doing all this. And so it was hard to find basically an engineer that would just, hey, I'm going to try to do something new I've never done before, because of course they're used to work with a certain type of technological tech stack pretty much, like different type of technologies and tools coming together. But on the other side, if you talk to, let's say, people that are not from the gaming industry, are used to build mobile apps for very big companies, banks, social media, doing all this, they don't understand games at all. I've been really mind blown on how complicated it is for kind of a traditional developer to understand gaming, because it is a very different way to see development. And so that is why it's been so hard to find the right people, because if you're like, on one part, the gaming people don't understand the technical requirements on the other side. And then the mobile people, or let's say more traditional app people, they don't understand what makes a good game or what technology is needed to build the right engine. And then you have also the audio layer on one side, which is also specific requirements that are different. And so that's why it's been so hard. And maybe one of the reasons what we're building doesn't exist yet is because it's really at this kind of intersection of those different worlds. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much October and November were very intense on that aspect. I was very, very stressed, didn't sleep much because I saw, time flying. I didn't have a demo ready. I didn't know when it would happen. It was taking too much time to recruit people. But now, I can relax a bit because it's rolling. We have a demo running. I can even play it, and now we're really polishing the UX and experiences, and I'm going to be soon in December moving to build content, right? I'm going to try to do maybe a small game to really demonstrate how this could be fun. We have a pretty ambitious plan for the flagship game we want to make, but at the beginning, because I don't have a lot of time, I'm actually thinking of making something that kind of kind of a roguelite, type of experience. Looking into it, a friend of mine, just recommended to me Dungeon Crawler Carl. I didn't know about this, series yet, and just studied the first book. Pretty excited so far. This is my type of book. First lit RPG game I'm actually lit RPG book I'm listening to, and yeah, I love with this kind of humor and things like this. I spend a lot of time also listening to things like Expeditionary Force, with Skippy the Magnificent. So anyway, I like pretty fantasy and yeah, with a bit of fun as well. Not taking it too seriously and making a kind of experience that people can repeat and apply in different ways would be quite an interesting way to kind of experiment. And yeah, I'm looking forward to work on that. There's a lot of different ideas I have for different games. And the issue is it's really hard to switch from, hey, tech, or hey, I'm trying to pitch to investors. I need to, to spend a lot of time pitching and building pitch material to, oh, now I have enough brain space to focus on making actually an interesting game. So I think my Christmas holiday will be focused on making a cool game that I can actually play and experiment on the platform. That's going to be my fun this holiday, I guess. That's my Christmas gift to me. I can actually do a game and try to not be too hijacked by other matters like, oh, you need to update the pitch for the investors. So, yeah, to be honest, one of the hardest things I had to do as well in the past few weeks was building pitching material. It is not easy to take 5 to 6 months of data from everything I've been studied and try to communicate in a very sharp and clear way to people why this is an interesting opportunity, why they should invest in us, why they should believe in us. It's been a very big challenge. Not that it's not a good idea, it's actually an amazing idea, but just for me this is more like a me problem, right? To really take all this information and my nerdiness into something that a normal person can, digest. And I learned a lot as well about interesting things, because at one point it's like, why is it so obvious to me but not to other people? And I made a bit of a research, and I found out that there's different ways people think, and if you want to have some ideas to be understandable by other people, you need to kind of switch the way you're explaining things. As an example, I'm supposed to be what is called a synthetic thinker. There's different type of thinking ways, and that means that none of this thinker think differently and have a different way to see the world. So it makes it a bit harder for when I'm talking about how I see connection to things. It might not connect in the same way for other type of thinkers. I don't want to make it too complicated and nerdy because I'm not an expert here, but when I heard about this, I understood I had to reframe the way I was presenting my project. Initially, it was like, hey, we're going to make an open world, audio, interactive, MMORPG, and it's going to be amazing with PvE, PvP content, all of this. And to be honest, the interest was like, they really didn't give a shit about what I was working on or working. Like, if you basically, what I found out is if you talk about audio, people lose interest in an instant. Like, there's absolutely zero natural interest for people for any kind of audio experience. Unless they're maybe really into audiobooks, and that's, a growing market, but still, generally speaking, people are really, really hard to convince that audio is something exciting. But then I had to find a better way to explain it, because there's definitely a great opportunity for basically screen-free interactive entertainment. And I found a better way to explain it, to explain better how people consume content, right? One of the key things here that maybe you don't know is the people, if you took all the averages, I'm going to make it super high level numbers, but 61% of our entertainment time is actually in audio, like 61%. But people actually spend less than 18% of their kind of entertainment budget into audio, right? So 61%, way more than half is audio, but people are not spending money there. And obviously, people, know that audio tends to be like sponsored by ads and all this, but if you think about it, people spend a lot more money for an hour of audiobooks. To give an idea, the average, budget for people for video games is about 50 cents or so per hour of content. But if you think about audiobooks, it's actually close to €1, or $1 if you want to be in the US or whatever. But the thing is, people are willing to pay a lot of money for really good, audio quality entertainment. And now the question is why basically they're not paying more for that. I won't go into detail of the secret sauce and everything, but generally speaking, we think that bringing kind of gamification and really cool content in the audio format would actually open the way for us to make audio more relevant in people's lives. And the idea to kind of convert people's kind of dead time, like the time you're doing your chores, the time you're commuting, the time you're doing basically boring stuff when your hands are busy, your eyes are busy, but your mind is free. If you make this basically entertainment instead, we're not competing with your current interactive entertainment. We're actually allowing you to really enjoy your time, and we kind of double basically your interactive entertainment time without competing, right? So, and we would be one of the kind of first. We would be actually the first real, alternative for, passive audio content. And I'm super excited about that. So in a nutshell, that's a bit of our pitch, but generally speaking, trying to get all this information about audio, the market, people behaviors, everything into something that people can actually understand took me a lot of time finding the proper way to express all these ideas in a way that people wouldn't say, I don't see the point. Because there's kind of a natural rejection for audio content for some reason. But anyway, so, opportunities that are obvious, usually are not real opportunities. So, but being able to show that there's kind of a diamond in the rough there, it was very tough in the kind of pitching, structure and material thing, but super happy it's done now. Super excited I can finally explain this properly. And this week, I started to present it to some, very senior people from the gaming industry, to some potential investors. And I must say that I got extremely good feedback. So I'm pretty positive. When a friend of mine would say, hey, I have absolutely no doubt that you're going to get this funded. And we even had a big investor that said, hey, that looks very interesting. It might be early because we invest bigger ticket size. We usually invest between, more in the multi-million-dollar range, and we don't need that much. At the beginning, we're actually raising less than €1 million to get started. We're closer to the 500K, 600K, range to try to get a bit of funding to make sure we are nailing it out of the park, from the get-go. But super excited, super thrilled by the initial feedback, and especially because it already works. I can show the demo to people, I can help people interact, and exciting stuff, And we also have, I won't say all the secrets today, but I'm looking forward to have the demo going out and inviting people. I'm actually thinking about opening a website either in December, as soon as I have time, or most likely end of December, beginning of January. There'll be a website where people can register for the alpha, and then try to see if people are interested, answer questions, build a community. We're also looking for creators, right? Because we're building a lot of tools to make it easy for people to create interactive content on their own without needing to learn complicated, stuff. And so we're trying to find creators that are really interested to work with us to find the best way to interact with our platform, because the content we're building is different than audiobooks and things that we all know. We're trying to build a new type of entertainment, category and experience. And for that, we're looking more for, the builders, the explorers, like the crazy ones that are going to say, hey, let's try to do something cool and different. So, pretty excited for 2026. Now I'm trying to slow down a bit and try to get back with my energy and having fun building a cool game before I get into really the pitching mode beginning of next year. Because this is the end of the year, I'm going to try to keep things a bit to reflect a bit on making the plan for next year and try to think about who should join the team, because we still have some key positions that we need to fill. Right, I'm still looking for maybe a kind of a co-CEO slash COO, person to take care a lot about the, more the operation stuff, like we're in Germany, there's a lot of administrative stuff to do in German, and I would like to find the right person to help me kind of manage the company, I think, because let's say I'm more a product person. I know about business and things, but I think it would be better to kind of partner with someone that would complete my, own skill set. That's what I learned. This is my sixth company, and I think it's better to build, build on your strength, and try to find people that can really handle the things where you're a bit not as strong. I had discussion with some potential CTOs as well, but I'm not sure it would be necessary because I'm very happy with our two engineers, Sebastian and Patrick, and hopefully we'll keep working together nicely and we won't need to kind of scale up and get more, people there because we have big plans. Maybe we'll open for a room for a third engineer. And one of the big gap I have now is that I still need to find basically the kind of narrative director that will be responsible for a flagship game, like, Forgotten Skies. The background behind me is a bit of an inspiration of that world. So someone that is, a narrative director slash creative director that can really, co-create this universe with me and really embrace, the platform and the possibilities and be willing to be, also a voice for the community and really engage this because we have big plans to, make this game a very collaborative environment. It's a multiplayer as well, a game where people can also contribute, with UGC and PvP, PvE, a lot of different things. So it's a very ambitious project. So finding the right person, it's going to be a challenge, but to be fair, I really didn't have the time to really broadcast and looking for someone. I had some discussions, but it's going to be a bit challenging because there were some very senior people with, 30 years plus of experience, in narrative, but they were really afraid about this kind of novelty and a bit more tech involved. And, now with the way it works, it's harder to have people siloed into one specific area. You need to be willing to explore. And there's a bit of a kind of tiny bit of technical aspect you have to be willing to learn and not just be a writer and just pay on writing. So yeah, I need to find kind of a hybrid between narrative and design or creative, right? So we'll see. Hopefully we'll find the right person. And most likely we will need some other designers and writers to kind of build, different experiences and demos for different type of, different games. The idea is we want to have our own games, a bit like a Nintendo type of strategy where we kind of run the platform. We have flagship games going to show, the capabilities and the tools and doing all this. But when we build tools, so we'll try to build ambitious games and exciting games. The idea is to give the tools and make them in a way that the community can use them to create their own games as well. Because this platform is, about making everyone a protagonist, and being protagonist need, shaping your own journey and, doing your own stories and all of this. And the idea is to really allow people to, play, enjoy, learn things, but also create on their own and share with their friends. So, a lot of exciting plans. I hope this video really recorded well because I spoke a lot, and I hope this really, be spontaneous. This is the best way I work, and I wish you the best. If we don't, see each other before that, I'll wish you, Merry, Christmas and, Happy New Year, everything. And well, stay tuned and join our Discord. We will, start. I mean, we are already there. We're working. There's a lot of hidden channels where we talk about the stuff. But yeah, we want to build a community and interact with people who are excited to build with us. This is a very collaborative co-creation type of project. So yeah, that was Sky Captain Robin. Thank you very much, and let's go for the adventure. All right, thank you. Ciao, ciao.